Good morning and welcome on your first day at Frankfurt School. My name is Matthias Catón. I am the Undergraduate Program Director here at the Frankfurt School. Before we start, I would like to ask you to all please stand up. On your feet, on your tips, and stretch yourself. Lift your arms and stretch yourself up as far as you can. And I see there's somebody in the back who reaches the ceiling. That's great. Some of you can do more. Some of you can do more. You can do more. Okay, a little bit more. So that it hurts a little bit. Okay? Hold it for a second. Great. Thank you very much. Please sit down. This stretching yourself a little bit more is what I want you to do every day that you come here to Frankfurt School for class in the next 3 or 3.5 years. And of course I didn't mean it literally, unless you like morning sports. Obviously you can do that also practically, but I meant it in a figurative way. Stretch yourselves, go a little bit further every day when you come here, because that is the purpose of your studies here at Frankfurt School. And you know that from sports. If you always only stay in the margin where you can run comfortably without it hurting, you will never really make progress. So you have to get out of your proverbial comfort zone to really make sure that you learn something, that you advance, that you progress, and that ultimately should and must be your goal during your time here at Frankfurt School. So please remember what you just did when you come here tomorrow and the next days when classes start, and try to really stretch yourselves a little bit further every day, and then soon enough all of you will reach the ceiling of this room and hopefully go beyond that as well. I know that you won't have difficulties doing so, because I know that you're ambitious, I know that you're well qualified, I know that because you all went through a pretty rigorous selection process. We here at Frankfurt School will do all we can to support you in this learning environment, this learning journey of yours. And the world that you will encounter, the world that you will go into when you graduate, when you start your career in business as a manager, as a leader of an organization, eventually, the world that you will encounter is a world that is different from the world that your parents experienced. And it is also different, probably, in some aspects at least, from the world that you're envisaging yourself. It is a world that is characterized by a number of trends. And the first trend is globalization. Now, globalization, everyone has heard of it, so this is nothing that will surprise you too much. But what does it mean in practice for you as a future business leader? Let's start with a little quiz. Which is Germany's largest bank by market capitalization? That is an easy question. Anyone? Yeah, just shout.
Deutsche Bank.
Deutsche Bank, yeah?
Yeah.
Anyone disagree? Commerzbank, okay. Well, okay. It is Deutsche Bank. You're right. By far, the largest German bank by market capitalization is Deutsche Bank. Now, think about the entire world. On the ranking of the biggest banks by market capitalization, where do you think is Deutsche Bank, Germany's biggest bank by far? Where is it placed globally?
I would guess about the 5th or 6th place, because many American banks are a little bit larger than the Deutsche Bank, but the Deutsche Bank in global view is pretty large.
Okay, 5th or 6th. Any other guesses?
I think Deutsche Bank is in the top 10.
In the top 10?
But soon they will get in the top 5.
Okay, so you think they're on the way up? Okay, any other guesses over there?
Yeah, I'm actually not sure whether they're so high in the ranking. I would rather say about probably place 30 or 40 around there.
Okay. This gentleman is more pessimistic. Maybe you were there?
I'm pretty sure it's
7 or 8. Okay. So there is a majority of those who have spoken to say no, somewhere between 5th and definitely in the top 10. There's one diverging opinion over there between 30 and 40. There's no prize, but if there was, you would have won it. Congratulations. Deutsche Bank is currently ranked 36th in terms of market capitalization. Biggest bank by far in Germany, globally only 36th. And now there's a follow-up question. There's a bonus. You can double your win. If you look at that table, as I said, Deutsche Bank 36 at the top 10, and many of you thought that Deutsche Bank was in it. Among the top 10 biggest banks in the world, how many of those are Chinese? 3? 50%, that would be 5, yes? Yes? The majority? That would be at least 6 then, I guess, yeah? Okay, any other guesses? No? Okay, it's actually 4. 4 of the top 10 largest banks are Chinese, including the 2 biggest ones. Have you heard of Tata, the company Tata? Yes?
I think it's an Indian company.
It's an Indian company. Do you know some things they produce?
Trucks and vehicles.
Exactly. Well, they produce lots of things from vehicles, cars to services, etc. Very, very big Indian conglomerate. They recently became the biggest employer in the industry in Great Britain. No other company employs more people in the industrial sector in Great Britain than an Indian company, Tata. And that is interesting. I think it's interesting in 2 respects. One, that it is a company from an emerging country, becoming the biggest employer in a developed Western country. And secondly, of course, as I'm sure you're aware, that India once was a colony of Great Britain. It's a bit ironic that now these things turned so much that the biggest industrial employer in the UK is Tata. And speaking of Indians and speaking of Deutsche Bank, third example that illustrates the effects of globalization, as I'm sure you're also all familiar, is that Deutsche Bank is being led now for a while by a person who is of Indian descent, which until fairly recently, for an icon of German economy like Deutsche Bank, would have been almost unthinkable. So what does that mean for you? It means that wherever you will work, in a company big, medium-sized, small, an NGO, whatever sector, you can be almost 100% sure that you will have to interact with people from different parts of the world, with people from different cultural backgrounds, as your customers, as colleagues, as bosses, in different functions. And it will mean that companies from Germany, for example, do business abroad, but it also means, as we've seen from the examples, that companies, international companies, come to Europe, come to Germany to do business here. And you need to be something that I like to call globally literate. So very much like you need to read and write as a basic skill, you need to be globally literate. You need to be able to work with different people from different backgrounds, with different value sets, often over distance, only communicating with online technology, for example, or over the phone, things like that. And that requires a certain skill and a certain openness. So this is the first trend. The second trend that you will encounter in your career is innovation. And not only innovation, but the speed of innovation. The speed with which entire sectors of industry are transformed by something new. There are several examples. Who of you owns an iPhone? Okay, that is the vast majority. Anyone know when the first iPhone was introduced, when it was first introduced on the market? 2007, exactly. 6 years ago, 2007. And you may find that bizarre, but in 2007, there was a company that dominated the mobile market. And that was, arms go up, you know it, Nokia. And they not only dominated, it was actually a company that was considered very innovative. It was a company that was considered cool. Everyone wanted to have a handset from Nokia. And they, by that time, 2007, they made about 2/3 of all the profits, the operating profits that were made in this sector, were made by Nokia. They were dominating. Nobody thought of Apple as a phone company. Apple was known for computers. And then that changed, and they introduced the iPhone, which was a huge success, as we can see here. Today, they make about half of all the profits in that industry. Apple makes half of them, despite having a relatively low market share. Surprisingly, in this group, that's obviously not representative, so they don't really have a very, very high market share, but they are hugely profitable. And with that, they make half the profits. Nokia went down to about 4%, something like that. And as I'm sure you're aware, if you follow business news, they're really in a very, very difficult situation in just 6 years. Another example is Amazon. I'm sure you have all ordered something from them. Maybe it was a book, but maybe it was something else. Maybe it was your iPhone. Maybe it was a washing machine. Maybe it was clothes. And at first, when they started, a lot of people in the book industry, they belittled it because they said, nobody's going to buy books online. You want to go to a shop, you want to see the books, you want to take them out of the shelf and go through the pages and smell the books. Who's going to buy a book online? Well, it turned out that more people than they thought were actually willing to do that. And it has had some very severe consequences for the sector, for the industry. If you know the States, there was a big book chain called Borders. They had huge shops all over the United States. A lot of them. They went bankrupt. Barnes & Noble's, another of those companies, they're still around, but they're more or less the Nokia of that industry, and they're really, really struggling. And now that Amazon has transformed that sector, they're starting to do so in others. The publishing industry, for example, where they're working with models, with a Kindle and electronic publishing, that take out the publishing house as a middleman, as a clearing function between the authors of the content and the readers. And these things can happen very, very quickly. So what does it mean for you? In whatever function you will have to work, you will always have to think, how may I have to alter fundamentally my business model? What will I have to do completely different? And even in a situation where all seems to be going well, the profits are high, you're considered a cool company. Think of Nokia. They made the mistake that they were too complacent, too confident, that all was good, they were the kings, and nothing could happen. And it changed like that in a very, very short amount of time. So you have to have that flexibility. You always have to be on the edge, think ahead, and you also need to have creativity. Now that may sound weird for a business school. So say business school, it's about strategy, it's about numbers, it's about these things. You have to be creative. You have to have the ability to think a little bit like an artist. And Steve Jobs is always cited for having this vision, right? So obviously not everyone can have that much of a visionary appeal as Steve Jobs. That would probably be too much. But you all need to have a little bit of that if you want to succeed in your careers. And the third big trend that I see that will shape your business career is the abundance of data. We live in the age of big data, as it is called, which again is surprising because not so long ago, the biggest challenge, or one of the biggest challenges that was faced by business leaders, for example, when they had to take a strategic decision, was lack of data and lack of information. And even at university, you will notice that. When I went to university, which was a few years ago, but not that long ago, the biggest problem when you had to write a paper or do some research was to find the information. You had to go to the library, you had to look it up in books or in journals that were printed or in microfiche, or you had to do a loan from another library. It's very complicated. Same for business leaders. Getting information, getting data to support a decision was one of the main challenges. Now, data is abundant because we collect so much of it, and we have it through information technology. We have it at our fingerprints, at our fingertips. Think about Walmart. Walmart, big US retailer. Every hour of the day, Walmart records about 1 million customer transactions every hour. They're all stored, obviously. Imagine what kind of a huge amount of insight it is that Walmart possesses about their customers, but also about their distributors, their providers, etc. Or think about social media. There's about 400 million tweets that are being sent every day. And that is data. That is information. If you can access it, if you can analyze it, you can use it as signals for a business decision, for example. Or Facebook. I suppose that most of you are on Facebook, I would guess. Probably also upload photos on it. Good. Every month, about 1 billion photos are uploaded, new photos are uploaded to Facebook. And also that is data. That is information that if you have the right to use it, the ability to use it, you can transform into something meaningful. But remember, data as such is just a pile that is useless if you don't know what to do with it. So, whereas in the past, finding information was crucial, what is crucial now is being able to filter out the right information, those that you need for your particular problem or decision, and be able to work with the data to transform it into insight. And to do that, you need to have superb quantitative skills. And that is also the reason why we place a lot of importance on these issues here at Frankfurt School. You'll do advanced mathematics, you'll do statistics, probability, all these kind of things that are important for you to access data that you will have available, but to transform it into something meaningful. So these are 3 trends that we see that will become more and more important for you as you go into your careers. And we here at Frankfurt School, we will do all we can in the next 3.5 years to support you with that, to prepare you for these challenges. And I want to say a few words about the relationship that we will have here, or you will have with the institution. And of course, you are clients. You are clients, our clients of Frankfurt School. You pay tuition here. And therefore, you can and should rightly expect a high-class product every day. But it is more than that, and that is very important to me to get this point across. For me, and for all of us here at Frankfurt School, university is not just a transactional relationship. It's not like you go to a shop and you buy something, you put the money on the table, you get it, and you walk away. If you're not happy, you return it or you buy somewhere else. University has to be more than that, and we see Frankfurt School as a community. As a community of students, you, community of faculty, our professors, the researchers, those who do the teaching, and a community of all the other staff, from study advisory to marketing, whatnot, all those people who work here together to make this the place it is. So we would like to invite you to become a part of this community, and that also means that we want you not just to be passive, not just to come here with the mindset of a consumer, but to really become active and contribute to the success of the institution. There are many, many ways that you can do that. There are numerous students' initiatives, from Model United Nations to a rhetoric club. There is FS wine tasting, for example. You can organize events for your fellow students. There is a group that does it. There will be a apparently legendary party on Saturday. I have never been there, which is probably a relief to you. You won't see me there on Saturday. We have a student council, the official student representation, where you can be elected by your fellow students and become an official spokesperson for the student body. Obviously, we work very closely as an institution with the student representation. We also have our ambassadors, for example. I'm sure you have met some of them maybe at a fair or on the assessment center day. Those are students from higher semesters who help us spread the word, spread information, inform potential new students about Frankfurt School, provide a different perspective from the perspective that we as official representatives can provide. So there are lots of possibilities that you can really become involved. Once you graduate, you will become an alumnus or an alumna. You can become a member of our alumni association and really stay in touch. So really try to see you as a part of a community, not just as a client and a consumer. And ultimately, your success here at Frankfurt School will depend on what you yourself make out of it, each and every one individually. We can give the framework, we can give the support, we can give the inputs and the ideas, but ultimately, you will have to decide what you're going to do with it. And there are a few other remarks. And the first one, and since I know students at Frankfurt School quite a bit now, is the first advice that I would want to give you is it is not all about grades. Yes, grades are important, and please do study, and please do try to get good grades. But at the end of the day, whether or not you will succeed in your career will not depend on whether you end up with 89% or 90% or 91% or whatnot. So gradual differences in the grades is not what will make you succeed. It is not what will make you stand out in the crowd. Because if you think about the challenges and the transformations that I mentioned a bit earlier, then it's quite obvious that what will be needed and what employers will look for are not necessarily people who are completely streamlined and completely narrow-minded on one goal. They will look for people who have a certain breadth of experience and have shown that they are interested in many, many different things, that they are different from other people, and that they therefore have both the interest and the abilities to adapt to completely new challenges and circumstances. Because, make no mistake, the world as it's going to be when you graduate, or as it actually still is, already is a world that nobody can really say what kind of challenges you will be facing in 10, 20, or 30 years. You don't know that, and we don't know that either. So what we try and what you should strive in your education is to prepare yourselves for the unknown unknowns, as you may say, and try to do that by standing out, by doing things differently, on purpose differently from other people. What that can be will be up to you. But I want to give you one example because I know that that is a question that will come up for all of you soon enough. When you decide where you want to spend your semester, or in case of the IBA students, your 2 semesters abroad, think differently. Try thinking about something else than everyone else. Anyone want to guess what the 3 most popular destinations are for our students? Yes? Australia. That's good. That's number 1, yes? Hawaii? Okay, you're good. There's one missing.
United States.
Okay, United States, and more specifically, which part of the United States? Yes. Okay, you got it. California, so the US West Coast, Hawaii, and Australia are by far the most popular destinations among our students. And I can fully understand it. They're great places to be, so no doubt about it. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't go there, so don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we have currently about 85 universities for the undergraduate program in 30 countries. Think about whether or not it may be a good opportunity for you to do something that is an experience that will be completely different from what you may be able to experience here, and maybe also completely different from what you can experience easily afterwards. Because if it's just the beaches, you can do that afterwards. Even Hawaii, if you want to go surfing, you can always book a flight and go there and do a vacation, do 2 weeks of surfing. But we have so many interesting places with good universities. In Latin America, for example, I was recently in Colombia, where we are partnering with definitely the best university in Colombia, but probably also one of the best universities in Latin America, the Universidad de los Andes. Very good university, very interesting country that is on the rise. We have partner universities in China, for example, in Korea. We have a partner university in Jordan, in Amman. Very interesting place to be. So these are the places where you can really learn something that is out of the ordinary for you. It's a different kind of experience. And it is also something that will make you and your curriculum, if you kind of think very efficiently, very strategically, will make your curriculum stand out when you apply for jobs. So ultimately decide what you want to do with your experience here, but try to make it as broad as possible. Because what I would like to ask you is to remain curious, be self-confident. Yes, absolutely. You can and should be so, because you're good. We know that. But at the same time, also remain curious, remain hungry, and remain with a certain kind of modesty that, by the way, is not just for you. I think it's valid for everyone, me included, that even if you know a lot of things, there is still an overabundance of things that we don't know that may be interesting to know. We here at Frankfurt School have a lot of confidence that you will succeed. We know that because we have checked you thoroughly through a multi-step process, including the assessment center, which I suppose that most of you remember. So we know you quite a bit already. We have confidence that you will succeed here. We, at least on our side here at Frankfurt School, very much looking forward to working with you over the next 3 or 3.5 years, depending on your program. I hope that it will be a great experience for all of you, for us included. And with that, I would like to very warmly welcome you once again on your first day here at Frankfurt School.